Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. And we have some interesting goalie stuff to talk about today as the goalie market starts to look a little bit more set than it did just last week. We talk about Semyon Varlamov, where he's projected to go. We know things are pretty tight around the vest for Lou Lamoriello, but we got a little bit there. What's the latest on Braden Holtby and Alexander Georgiev? A couple more tertiary, secondary names we've been hearing in the market. And what's the update on Marc-Andre Fleury? Could we see him get traded to Toronto? So we'll go over those things today. So the first thing we're going to go over is Semyon Varlamov, the New York Islanders goaltender. Now he has one more year left after this season. His contract ends in 2023. He's getting paid $5 million per season. So that might keep a couple of the teams that are more closer to the cap, maybe keeping some of those contenders away from Varley. But he's been very good this season in spades. More recently, he's been good. He really struggled out of the gate for the Islanders and really was a big part of the Islanders' lack of success early on. And that just seemed to really be his Achilles heel is the start of the season. So things have changed a little bit, for the better. The rumor is from James Nichols. After a 44 save performance against the Colorado Avalanche, there's another suitor gauging the Semyon Varlamov market, and he won't move his no trade clause for Edmonton. Now, if you know what they're talking about here, he after a 44 save performance last night or the other night, there's another suitor gauging Semyon Varlamov, reportedly the Colorado Avalanche. He played really well in that game, gave the Islanders a chance to come back in that game despite being down 5-1. They came all the way back, made it 5-4. I actually was able to go to that game. But the situation with Varlamov has gotten a little bit interesting. He's actually gaining, again, the fact that Fleury is probably off the market, gains more interest for Varlamov for the Islanders. So I don't think Lou Lamoriello will be too upset with that. He's going to be one of the primary targets here for goaltending. And could he make a return to Colorado? I think time will tell, but that is on the table. Now, again, according to James Nichols, a second and third round pick is likely the most the Islanders can get for Semyon Varlamov. So we're not talking about a first round pick, but that's okay. This is a deep draft. You get a second and third round pick. You get 2 draft picks in the top 3 rounds. I would take that. I think the Islanders would be just fine with that. And I think that's the market this year. I think we're going to see a lot of teams, instead of giving up a first round pick and a prospect, you're going to see a second and third round pick. I think the market is setting up where a lot of teams won't be willing to give up that first round pick. And if they are willing to give up that first round pick, they will more than likely get the player. So that is kind of what you're looking at there. According to Elliot Friedman, there is increased chatter around Varlamov. His no trade covers half the NHL. Teams are petrified of admitting they're talking to Lou and the Islanders. If it happens, I'm not convinced that it will be Edmonton. And that was the rumor. He will not move his no trade clause to go to Edmonton. So don't expect him to be traded to the Oilers at the deadline. So, and again, another little bit of a little shot there at the Oilers organization. And again, it just, I don't think Oilers fans this is anything new for them. They're kind of getting used to that around the NHL at this point. It's frustrating, I'm sure, for Oilers fans, but that is the reality of it. Expect a couple teams like Vegas. Again, the Oilers are going to be in the mix for certain goalies here. But obviously not Varlamov, which means they may be looking at some of these other names. So this is from Emily Kaplan. I've been told goalie Braden Holtby is in play. Alexander Georgiev is also very much in play. I don't get the sense the St. Louis Blues are willing to part with Ville Husso. So Ville Husso probably off the market at this point. He's had a really nice comeback season. He really struggled last year for the Blues. Really wasn't able to step in when Jordan Binnington struggled last year. So the Blues had a really tough goalie situation. That was my concern going into the year. Would, keeping the same Blues goaltending tandem, would that work? It didn't work last year. Well, it actually turned out to work this year. Both of them had bounce back seasons. So don't expect Husso to get traded. Now, for Braden Holtby, I do expect a trade there. The Dallas Stars have a plethora of goaltenders between. We're not going to see Ben Bishop come back, but they've got Anton Hudobin, Jake Ottinger, and Braden Holtby. I would expect Holtby to get moved before the deadline. I could see the Oilers being the team to really take a run at Holtby. They tried to acquire him before he went to Vancouver in 2020. Expect that to be on the radar for Ken Holland and the Oilers. And Alexander Georgiev. Could we see the Rangers make another trade? A goalie that will not re-sign with the Rangers because he wants to be a starter somewhere, end up in Edmonton. If you know what I'm talking about, it is Cam Talbot when he left the Rangers. So are we going to see another situation where that ends up happening? Potentially. I think that is definitely on the table. The Oilers will probably take a look at a guy like Georgiev, but for some reason I'm leaning more toward Holtby for the Oilers. But I mean, I wonder what the Rangers could do here with Georgiev, because the only other teams I could see adding a goalie, I mean, they're not going to trade him to the Capitals. I know the Capitals want a goalie. I don't see that happening. The Avalanche, if they don't get Varlamov, maybe they come up in the conversation for Georgiev. So I guess you could look at it in that sense. That could be on the table there for Georgiev, but they aren't going to get the value for him that they probably would like. But that's kind of the state of things. They know he's not coming back this offseason, so they don't really have much leverage here. It would be purely to keep him for the rest of the season. And again, it comes back to the Rangers' goalie depth. Are they okay with Keith Kincaid or Matt Huska being the backup behind Shesterkin in the playoffs? And with the way Shesterkin's played recently, he's actually fallen a little bit. And I think some people are out there thinking to themselves, do we want to trade Georgiev right now? If you're going to be buyers at the deadline, why are you going to sell Georgiev and then bring in somebody? Again, it's one of those things you might be hurting yourself more and actually doing more damage. So again, that's the latest there. Now the last report was Marc-Andre Fleury to the Maple Leafs. Now, we have since heard that is not on the table. So if Marc-Andre Fleury opens up to a trade out of Chicago, rumor has it the Maple Leafs are interested in a 3-team trade. Again, since then, we have now gotten confirmation that that is not going to be the case, as he does not have the Maple Leafs on his list of teams he would go to. I'm sure this is a very small list for Flower. I'm not really sure where he's going to end up. I truthfully think he will stay in Chicago. But I guess if the right team is out there that he wants to go to and they're interested in him, they will get the deal done. I just don't. He's being very picky here. The Leafs are a good team, and the fact he doesn't want to go there makes you wonder how many other teams are on this list, legitimately. Like, is there 3 teams he would go to, and that's it? That might be what we're looking at here if we were to see a Marc-Andre Fleury trade. Everything would have to go perfectly. I just don't see that being the case realistically. So, guys, that is it for today's video. Comment down below. What do you think of all these rumors? Varlamov maybe making a return to the Avalanche here as Joe Sakic looks to bolster up his cup favorite Avalanche. What do you think of some of these other goaltenders? Braden Holtby, Alexander Georgiev, and I think the most interesting one right now is Marc-Andre Fleury. Will he stay or will he go? Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.